Hey, this is Bill Reddick. I'm going to walk you through a game that I've been working on. It's called Gardening for Plants and People. And in this case, there's a engine that's been built around a game engine built around commitment pooling, where there's an ability for resource coordination and dealing with challenges using that. So there's two modes. There's a plant mode and then there's a people mode. I'll show you how they both look. There's a tutorial that kind of walks you through this as well, so give that a try. Um, in challenge mode here, you're basically trying to reach 5 million points here, and to do that, you're trying to grow this garden as big as you can while dealing with some challenges, which I'll show you. And the way you do that is by connecting all of these plants together through a mycorrhizal fungal network. And so what that means is that in this game the nitrogen is produced by the beans, the potassium is produced by the squash, and phosphorus is produced by the maize. In reality, these plants actually use more of those resources. They don't necessarily produce them, although beans have a nice relationship with different types of bacteria to produce nitrogen or pull it out of the soil in a certain way. And the trees tap into deep water sources. So in this case, the trees are kind of a source of water. Again, this is just an approximation just to play through the game dynamic. And what you're going to do is you're going to move around this mycorrhizal fungi to connect these guys together. And if you press B, you can actually see the nutrients coming in and out of the system. So what just happened there is a bunch of birds stole my beans. So I've got to deal with that situation. And as well as you can see little plants popping up, well, that's because as these guys get enough resources, they start to actually produce little baby plants. And so the dynamic in the game right now is helping the plants grow as much as they can in the face of different types of challenges. So I'm going to have to now add more beans to the system, right? Um, I can keep kind of fighting against these birds by trying to grow more beans in the system. I have a limited inventory down here, so I can sort of plant more, if you will. This tree out here that are popping up in this maze, they're going to die because they don't have enough nutrition, and the birds are going to keep fighting against me. So really, if I want this garden to really grow more, I need to introduce more of the mycorrhizal networks into the system, and they connect to each other as well. And so a mycorrhizal network over here is going to connect to the mycorrhizal network over there, and I can move the plants within the network. I can turn B off so I can see a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to try to pull these guys in here to make sure that you can see this mycorrhizal is really low on nitrogen and doesn't have much phosphorus. So I'm going to try to pull in more so the mycorrhiza has a better network, and that's going to feed all the plants around it. Right, so I can press B again to see the bars of these guys. See, these guys are going to die off, and I have 10 more mycorrhizals, so I can actually create a network all over the place here. So in terms of, the cheat way to win this game is basically grow out your mycorrhizal network as big as you can so that you're not kind of having to fight the birds. And then another interesting thing that you can do in this game is, in the as you get more advanced in the game, there's going to be more and more birds, right? They've killed off all of my beans right now. There's a few left. I can actually increase the relative value of the beans in the network, or the nitrogen in the network to value beans more, and it's going to start having a lot more babies. That's going to be at the detriment, though, of the other plants. So you don't want to keep it out of balance for too long, but you can actually change the values in the mycorrhizal network of what types of nutrients are preferred in the network, right? So making nitrogen down here more valuable means that the beans are going to be able to pull out a lot of other nutrients from the network. And you can see, like right now, my maize is not doing so well. I got to make sure that does well. So that's in essence the dynamic. I'll pause there, go back to the menu, and we'll look at a similar dynamic in the people mode. Okay, so again, there's a tutorial that walks you through a bunch of this stuff, so have fun with that. We're going to go right to challenge mode. In this case, instead of water, you have money, right? And the money is going into these baskets, right? In this case, you also have, I'm going to pause it here, you have tuk-tuks that come in and kind of steal the people into the city. So in this case, you have, instead of a rain cloud, you've got a bank or a city on a cloud here that's pumping money into the system. These guys can put their, in this case, farming, vegetables, and cooking into these little baskets that represent markets. So these are like the mycorrhizal fungi. They're really agreements between people in the city who put their money into these baskets in exchange for labor, right? Or in exchange for vegetables from this mama here, or in exchange for cooking. So these are little markets that are, instead of the mycorrhizal version, which was, multilateral, many different parties could take part, these are only bilateral baskets. That's why they're colored like this. Okay, and so again, you're fighting against people migrating into the city. So look, they've taken the mama vegetable. She's going to go live in the city now. So the network's not going to be doing so well. Again, I could add more, or train in this case, more women or people doing vegetables into the system. But again, I'm fighting this system that's pulling them into the city. So there's urban migration is happening. People are dependent on the bank pumping money into the system. They can't yet trade with each other directly. This guy's got to get money from this basket and push it in here, right? And as more and more people are interested in taking up these jobs, they're not necessarily able to access these markets. And so as there's more people that want to be farmers and cooks and different positions, there's just not enough resources in the system necessarily to actually support them from the city, right? Unless they crowd around the city as much as they possibly can. And so in order to help these guys, what you can do is, again, create agreements between them, right? Allow them to, or help them to make agreements that they can actually trade with each other rather than forcing them into trading with the city, right? And so you can see, like, there's a lot of life that can pop around their own network now. You have this network of money moving around here where they're dependent on money, but now you have networks further out that can depend on other stuff. So again, in order to watch out for the tuk-tuks, you need to, make sure that you have diversity in your network, in your pooling system, such that it's not overly dependent on one thing. And again, you can also change the relative value of stuff. So you can look at what happens when money gets valued too much compared to everything else. So have fun with that. It was fun creating it, and I hope you have fun playing with it. Have a great one.